We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Indictments, bribery accusations, new cancer findings, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lupkin, and here's the news you need to know. Former President Donald Trump was indicted on federal charges Thursday evening, stemming from special counsel Jack Smith's months-long investigation into the former president's alleged improper retention of classified records at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. Trump is listed in the indictment, which has not been unsealed, as a criminal defendant charged with at least 7 counts involving obstruction of justice, conspiracy, and illegal retention of classified government material. He has been ordered to appear in federal court in Miami on Tuesday. Trump said the case is election interference and the greatest witch hunt of all time. Trump also said he will, of course, plead not guilty to charges in federal court on Tuesday and said he is totally innocent. President Joe Biden, who is also being investigated for improperly handling classified documents, is now suspected to have participated in a criminal bribery scheme tied to payments reportedly made by the Ukrainian energy company Burisma to members of the Biden family, according to House Oversight Committee members after viewing an FBI document related to the claims. The document had been held back from the congressional committee until FBI Director Christopher Wray faced the threat of being held in contempt of Congress for failing to comply with the subpoena. Wray allowed members of the committee to review the FBI-generated FD 1023 document regarding the alleged bribery scandal on Thursday. The document consists of information from a trusted, highly credible FBI informant and is currently being used in an active and ongoing investigation. The Supreme Court on Thursday struck down an Alabama congressional map drawn by the state's Republican-dominated legislature after the 2020 census, ruling it diluted the power of black voters in violation of the Voting Rights Act. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh split with the court's conservative supermajority, siding with the court's 3 liberal justices in the 5-4 decision. The Alabama map favored Republicans, giving black voters a majority in just one of the state's 7 congressional districts, even though the state is 27% black. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the ruling rejects efforts to further erode fundamental voting rights protections. Justice Clarence Thomas said in his dissent the ruling would make race a factor in virtually every redistricting. The Connecticut legislature quietly changed the requirements to run for the state's attorney general position. The requirements were scaled back to make it possible for State Representative Matthew Blumenthal, son of Senator Richard Blumenthal, to run for the office despite not having the required experience. The change was hidden from state voters inside the state's budget, so that the public would not be aware of what was going on before it went through. Richard Blumenthal is one of the wealthiest members of the Senate and served as Connecticut's Attorney General before running for Senate. China and Cuba have secretly made a deal for China to set up an electronic eavesdropping station on the communist-run Caribbean island that would pose an unprecedented security threat. The facility in Cuba, just 100 miles from Florida, would give Chinese intelligence agency a vantage point allowing them to monitor ship traffic and capture electronic communications in the U.S. Southeast, which has numerous military bases. John Kirby, spokesperson for the National Security Council, said he couldn't address the report specifically, but that the U.S. is aware of China's efforts to enhance its military spying capabilities overseas. He said the U.S. monitors China's spying and takes steps to counter it. General Motors on Thursday sealed a deal that will give owners of its electric vehicles access to Tesla's supercharger network. Like Ford before it, which announced a similar agreement with Tesla 2 weeks ago, GM also will adopt Tesla's charging plug, now called the North America Charging Standard. Tesla in November said it invited other charging network operators and EV makers to use its charging connector and change port designs. Tesla says its connector is half the size and twice as powerful as the ones GM, Ford, and other car manufacturers have been using. GM CEO Mary Barra said in a live event with Tesla CEO Elon Musk on Twitter Spaces that establishing a unified standard will enable more mass adoption of electric vehicles. A new study found the experimental drug vorasidenib significantly reduced the progression of brain cancer, slowing the progression of tumors by an average of more than 16 months. Vorasidenib, created by the private drug developer Servier Group, is the first molecularly targeted treatment for diffuse glioma, and study lead author Ingo Melgenhoff called the results, which were published in the New England Journal of Medicine, a very big finding. The drug specifically works on grade 2 gliomas by blocking a specific enzyme mutated in low-grade gliomas, keeping them from progressing and postponing the need for further treatment like chemotherapy. The results are quite striking, and they're statistically highly significant. And more importantly, they're clinically very, very significant. Wake Forest Baptist Health's Dr. Glenn Lesser said Servier Group is working to get the drug approved by the FDA for use in the United States. In other cancer studies, it has been suggested that staying active by walking 30 minutes a day and doing yoga can reduce fatigue and lower the risk of the disease spreading, returning, or causing death. At the annual meeting of the American Society of Clinical Oncology, 3 studies were presented that looked at the role of exercise in the lives of cancer patients. The largest was a randomized control study of more than 500 U.S. cancer patients with an average age of 56, led by the University of Rochester Medical Center. The patients who received cancer treatment between 2 months and 5 years before the start of the study were split into groups, with one practicing yoga and the other attending health education classes. Blood work taken at the end of the study showed those who did yoga had significantly lower levels of pro-inflammatory markers compared to the participants in the other group. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.